Well, welcome to everybody. We're so happy that you joined us today. Today, I will be presenting Mary Beth Magee, and she is going to be speaking on fanning your creative spark. She has a psychology degree with a focus on adult learning. In drawing on her past education, she put this workshop together and she's presented in the past to teachers, librarians, poets, businesswomen, and writers of all genres. She loves watching, in her words, the ideas connect with attendees and see the ideas start flowing. She is an award winning author, and three of the books that have come out of this talk are uh, Creativity, an Essential Tool in the Real World, Jumpstart the Creativity in Your Writing, and 60 Days to Greater Writing Creativity, a workbook. In addition, she is a blogger, speaker, teacher, reader, dreamer, gardener, and crafter. She loves creativity in all of its forms and is offering a session to enhance your imaginative genius. By utilizing and integrating inspiration, imagination, and information, she will help you tap into your own well of ingenuity and teach you how to organize your creative ideas. Through actual hands on exercises, research, and real life examples, she'll share with you her creative process. Thank you so much, Mary Beth, for joining us.
Thank you, Ellen, for having me. It is my honor to be here in New Iberia and to be a part of this conference. This is a dream come true. So dream, they can come true. Dare to do it. Ellen talked about sparks, and that's what this is about. We all have creative sparks. Sometimes we just forget, or we get sidetracked, or we think, oh, I've got too much else to do. I can't be creative. Today, I want to give you permission to be creative. I have something in the book, the Bill of Rights, the Creative Bill of Rights. You have the right to be creative, by the way. God made you that way. And so take advantage of it and go out on it. How do we find that flame? How do we start getting that creativity flowing? Well, a lot of people go, I don't know how to get started. It's real easy. I've got a formula for it, a recipe, if you will. A little bit of inspiration, imagination, information. You put those together, stir them up, and you've got creativity, folks. I know that sounds kind of simplistic, doesn't it? But it's really not. It's the core of being creative. So, first off, inspiration. What do you do to inspire yourself? What can you do to inspire yourself? Okay, everybody close your eyes for a second. What's your favorite thing in the whole world? You've already collected your favorite thing, haven't you? Okay, you can open your eyes now because I want you to think about that favorite thing and collect it. Whether you're collecting a picture, whether you're collecting actual items like stones or seashells or whatever, surround yourself with them. The things that make you happy. Because you know what? That's going to inspire you going forward. That's going to help you to be inspired. Anybody remember a guy by the name of Ray Bradbury? Yeah. If you ever looked at a picture of Ray Bradbury's office, it was like absolute chaos. In fact, he's so renowned for it that they've recreated his office up in Indiana at one of the universities as a memorial to him. Because you know what? In that office, he had everything that fascinated him. Everything. And if you ever saw his TV program, if you ever had a chance to watch the opening of that program, he'd say, people ask me where I get my ideas, and I come in and I tell them, I'll never go hungry here. And that's what our goal is, to surround ourselves with the things that we love, that excite us, that inspire us, so that we don't go hungry for inspiration. You know, you can sit on a desert island, or you can surround yourself with the things that you love. Now, if you happen to love a desert island, that's okay too. But for most of us, we like something a little bit more concrete. Photograph things. I know that sounds like, well, it's the same thing, right? Collecting a photograph. Well, a photograph, you get to create. It's not just picking up something out there somewhere. I have a photograph that I took, well, I didn't take, someone took for me, at Killer Nashville. Now, those of you who are not mystery writers, Killer Nashville is like a premier international writers conference for mystery writers, crime and mystery. And I've gone a couple of years. In the book room where you get to sign your books, they assign you a position, and they assigned me next to Otto Penzler. Otto Penzler, like the guru of mysteries for the last, well, I don't even know how many decades. Somebody that I grew up reading columns by. My mother was a mystery lover, and she and I would read Otto Penzler's column every month and share, wasn't that exciting? This story sounds so good. We have to go get this story at the library. I got to sit next to Otto Penzler to sign my books. And he talked to me. Nice man. He truly is a nice man. And we chatted, and he agreed to let us take a picture together. That photograph is an inspiration to me, to remind me that I can aspire to get higher up the hierarchy, to become as renowned as Otto Penzler. I don't know that I'll ever make it, but I'm sure going to try. And I've got that photograph to inspire me to keep trying. I'm not going to see him every day of my life, but I can look at that photograph anytime. And that helps me to keep going. Copy things. Doesn't that sound like plagiarism? No, I'm not talking about copying things to pretend they're your own. I'm talking about copying them to learn from them, to learn the rhythm, to learn the rhyme scheme, to learn the pattern of great works. And, you know, you copy down something that you really felt good about. You can go back and read it without having to find it in the whole book again, especially if it's a library book that you have to return. I have a whole note, well, actually 3 of them, filled with poetry. I started writing that up when I was in elementary school, when I came across a poem that I really, really liked, and I couldn't afford the book on my allowance. So I would write it out in a notebook. From writing out those poems, I learned about rhythm. I learned about the rhyme schemes. I learned about how words fit together to create a picture. Now I write poetry. I don't copy theirs and claim it for mine, but I learn from them to write. I let them inspire me. And that's what you can do with the things that you're interested in. Copying it, having it for something you can go back and refer to for inspiration is a great tool. So don't be afraid to do it. Okay, how about studying things? Okay, I'm not going to ask for show of hands now. Howsomever, how many of you have a library card? Oh, I actually have some volunteers. Great. I love volunteers. I'll remember later in the program. Having that library card gives you the option of getting not only the books that they have, but the books that they can borrow from other libraries. Interlibrary loan is a wonderful thing. You can be inspired by works throughout history. And you don't even have to invest any money in it because the library is a service that's available to you. So read. Read on any subject that inspires you. because by reading, you're going to learn more about it. Okay, visiting. This is a big one. We are here visiting Books Along the Teche. You are visiting New Iberia, or maybe you live here. If you're lucky enough to live here, God bless you. You are definitely in a great place. By visiting somewhere else, you can draw inspiration from new ways of doing things, new ways of looking at things. That's what inspiration is all about, getting new ideas, getting new ways to look at the world. Okay, so here you are. You're in a new place. Are you using it? Erica Spindler, who is a very well-known Louisiana author, likes to get out and go to the coffee shop. And by going to the coffee shop, she sits there with her computer and pretends to be typing. Well, sometimes she really does. But she's listening to the conversations around her to learn the patterns of the way different people speak, the patterns of the way that they dress. She's making notes about that. By visiting someplace different, she's getting ideas, getting that inspiration to go forward. Now, it doesn't mean be somebody's stalker. Okay, don't be a stalker. But take advantage of what goes on in the world so that you can learn more and be inspired by it to create your own. So going to new places is always a wonderful thing. And then, finally, inspiring music. Now, I am not going to ask you to identify what kind of music inspires you because every one of us is inspired by something different. Some of us, like me, are so weird we're inspired by all kinds of different music. Back in the day when I was growing up, in the dark ages, we would put things together in something we called a mixtape. A little cassette tape where we'd record our favorite songs and have them ready to play. We don't have to do that anymore. We can put them together as a playlist on our computer. Take the songs that inspire you, that uplift you, that make you feel good. Because that's what you want, the things that are going to make you feel good and get the creative juices flowing to be part of your playlist. And by playing those, when you need a lift, when you're working, it's going to help you to get so much further, so much deeper into what you're doing because your mind is working from a happier place, a better place. Now, I have things that I listen to when I'm editing. I have things that I listen to when I'm stuck and need to, get off of center and get writing again. I have things that I listen to just to sing along and feel good. And, if I hear Katy Perry saying, "Baby, you're a firework," yeah, that makes me feel better. When Katy Perry sings it, I'm not going to try to sing it to you, but, the words, the things that affirm you, that excite you, that make you feel better, that's what you want to have on your playlist. Okay. Now, we've talked about inspiration. Let's move on to imagination. Way back when, Alcoa Aluminum came up with the idea of something they called imagineering. Cool word. Unfortunately, they didn't work with it quickly enough. Walt Disney copyrighted it. If you think about what the people at Disney do, they are entitled Imagineers. The people who make those displays and create those games and rides and all those wonderful things at Disney, considered Imagineers. Guess what? You can be one too. You just can't have the little copyright behind it. You can use the inspirations, the ideas, and put those things together to be your own sort of Imagineer, putting imagination to work for you. Read things. if you are, I just this is a story that gives me chills. Okay, way back in the day, a new reporter started out at a Chicago newspaper. And he asked his boss, "What do I do?" And the boss said, "Read every word in the paper, every single word every day." So he did. One of the things he found was an advertisement by a woman named Tilly who said, "I'm offering a reward for information leading to the clearing of my son." And he thought, that sounds like that could be a story. A little inspiration going there. He had the imagination to go after the story. When he did, he learned that this woman scrubbed floors every day, every night actually, to raise the money to try to clear her son's name. It became a story that eventually came out in Reader's Digest called Tilly Scrubbed On, because she kept scrubbing. And every time she got another increment of money, she'd up that reward that was being offered. That reporter helped to research the case and to get him cleared. You may have seen it as a movie called Northside 777. This started out from an ad in a newspaper. And imagination took it to clearing a man's life, clearing the charges, getting him out of jail, becoming a best-selling story, and a great movie. So get out there and read. Research anything that interests you. You never know where that next idea is going to come from. And of course, events. I sound like a broken record, don't I? Attend events. The more you attend, the more you expose yourself to ideas, to thoughts, to experiences, the more your imagination can work. So let it work. Borrow from the arts. Now, out here in the next block, there's a blue dog sitting in the parking lot. Okay? That blue dog, there's one like him sitting in City Park in New Orleans. There's a lot of them sitting around all over the place. But you're not going to experience it if you don't get out and look at it. Enjoy various things. Those things like art exhibits, like conferences and festivals that give you exposure to other ideas and thoughts. That's where it comes from. Look around you. Take in everything around you. Now, remember how you had you close your eyes at the beginning and think about your favorite thing? Close your eyes again. What do you feel on your skin? Do you feel a breeze? Do you feel heat? Do you feel cool? That's the kinds of observations and notices that will help you to come up with ideas, to come up with your writing, to make you a better writer. Okay? Take a deep breath. What do you taste on your tongue when you take that deep breath? What do you hear? Other than my mouth rattling on, of course. But what do you hear? Oh, a motor? Do you hear a train? Do you hear an airplane motor? What do you hear? Do you hear people walking? Do you hear conversation? Close your eyes, listen, take it all in. Using your senses will help you to increase your imagination, increase your inspiration, and then your creativity. Okay? Now, let's jump on now to information. And I know I'm going through a lot and I'm just kind of tearing through in a hurry, but there's just so many ways that you can build your creativity. And I want to, force feed them all to you, but I know it's probably better to spoon feed it instead. Information. The more information you take in, the more your mind can work with it to create new ideas. There's and I've forgotten the name of the lake, but there's a lake in Washington State that the bed of the lake is not suitable for putting in the pilings that would allow the building of a bridge. So they built a pontoon bridge. Of course, we know about pontoon bridges down here in the South. We're accustomed to the idea. This is a very long bridge, and it's floating across a bay that has very strong tides, unpredictable weather. And then somebody decided, this bridge is working so well, we should attach a railway to it. You know what they did? They went back and they started doing research on the old train ferries in Europe. And what do you do to line up the ferry with the rail line on the opposite side when you get over there? Yeah, it's great to get the train car on the ferry, but how do you get it off on the other side? That's what they had to deal with to get that bridge to work properly. And you know what? They did. So now they have a commuter bridge with a commuter rail on it, as well as all these lanes of traffic running across a lake in Washington. I would not have thought of it, but they did research and they found a way to do it. Don't be afraid to look it up, to go look something up. Don't be afraid to experience your world. You're here. Take advantage of it. Have you eaten some of the local food? Have you gone out and visited the bookstore? Have you gone over and seen the theater? Have you gone over to Shadows? Have you looked at the bayou? Take advantage of the opportunities to observe the world around you, and then go back and use all those senses we talked about a few minutes ago. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you hear? What does it feel like being around there? Now, does a terrier feel different than a collie? Sure. There's a difference in their coats. That's the kind of thing that you want to know about, the thing that you want to make note of. Take all these pieces, put them together to fan your imagination. Okay, true confession time. Do I have any Star Trek fans? Yeah. In 1966, next question, do I have any English teachers? Yeah. Okay, 1966, September. A new TV series showed on NBC. And William Shatner's voice intoned in deep, solemn tones. Space. And he went on from there, and he just described all. And then he said the thing that sent a collective gasp across the country. To boldly go. And every English teacher in the world who was watching went, oh, he split an infinitive. But you know what? Everybody remembers to boldly go. Yes, he split an infinitive. He kind of upset the world. But it worked. Because he didn't do it in every sentence. He did one split infinitive in the whole thing. So think about Star Trek. Sometimes it's okay to make that little, sounds like an error but isn't really, little artistic freedom. Okay? The other thing that came out of Star Trek that kind of slipped past a lot of people at first was the Vulcan Award, the IDIC. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations. IDIC. Isn't that what generates creativity? Infinite diversity in putting together the pieces of what life has dealt us, of what we see in front of us. Infinite combinations. The very best recipes come about because somebody switched up the ingredients. an infinite combination, a little diversity going on. Those are the things that will allow you to be more creative, to just kind of let you go with your creativity. There are some ground rules when we're talking about creativity. Ground rule number one, there are no bad ideas. It may not work for what you were trying to come up with at the time, but file it away because it may work for something else. If you are a writer, definitely goes with your writing. Don't throw something away. Maybe it didn't work here, but you can take that chunk out of this story, save it in another file, and then come back later and maybe that'll work in another story. It'll work in another article. Don't throw it away. Just, edit properly, but don't throw it away. Every idea has a useful kernel, okay? You may not see it right now. You may have to come back and look at it later. That's okay. Research the ideas that you have to see all the possibilities. If those bridge builders had said, oh, gee, I don't know how we're going to get these rails to line up with the tide going in and out and everything, there would be no commuter rail running across that lake in Washington. They researched. They found a way to do it. So don't be afraid to do the research and look it up. There is no idea that's too outlandish to record for future reference, because it may seem outlandish now, but guess what? We're doing a lot of things nowadays that when I was growing up in the 50s and 60s, what? You're kidding me. Now they're reality. So you may have to put it on the back burner a while, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work someday. Not every recorded idea that you put down is going to work for the project that you wanted it for. That's okay. It may work for something else. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just be in your reference file forever. Detouring from your original idea is a useful journey. Don't ever look at a detour as a catastrophe. Look at it as a new opportunity, because there's something down that other road that you can follow. And some of the best adventures that I've ever had were wrong turns in the first place, but they turned out to be okay. When you're working on a project, and of course I phrase it in terms of writing because that's what I am, but when you're working on a project, keep working on it as long as it holds your interest. Just because it's not finished quite yet doesn't mean you have to give up on it. Keep working on it. Keep at it. Now, on the back of your handout, I've got some references for you, things that you can look up and work with. Don't be afraid to get after them. I have copies of my writing books today. I don't have all my creativity stuff today. But if you're a writer, look to other writers for inspiration, for education. If you were in the earlier session here with the people from 64 Parishes magazine, wow, I've been writing for magazines for buku years, and I sure learned a lot. I want to take them all home with me, because my editors are not nearly that organized. And I would love to have organized editors like that to work with. Take advantage of the opportunities that you have. Things like this literary festival are just golden. Don't pass up opportunities to learn more, to experience more, to find more. Questions? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Should I keep talking? Go ahead.
You wrote poetry books, is that right?
We have recording going on, so yeah, we got to. There we go.
You said you wrote poetry books?
Yes, I have written poetry books. I'm a member of the Mississippi Poetry Society, and I am part of their youth outreach committee, trying to encourage kids to get involved in poetry. So yeah, I love poetry.
Could you maybe share some insights on your process of assembling a collection of poems, potentially?
It depends on the topic that I'm working on. That's a great question, by the way. Um, if I am assembling on a given season, for example, I'm doing a collection of Christmas poems, then of course they're all going to have something to do with Christmas. It may be Christian, it may be secular, but it's going to be something to do with the holiday. If I'm dealing with one on family, it may be immediate family, it may be extended family, but it's all going to be related to family. And sometimes it's just particular format. This is a collection of sonnets, or this is a collection of trimerics, or my new favorite, the Diamante and the Fibonacci. There are so many poetic forms out there. It's a hoot. I love it, and that's one great benefit from being part of the Poetry Society is they have competitions. And you know what happens if you enter a competition? You have to follow the rules. And if the rules are this poem has to be a villanelle, I've never written a villanelle in my life. Wait, Dylan wrote that. Dylan Thomas with that villanelle about, do not go soft. God, that's so depressing. I don't like villanelle, but I need to write a villanelle for this competition. You learn to write a villanelle. You learn to write a different format. And so sometimes the collection is a collection of a particular form. It would depend a lot on what the goal was, and am I doing it for my own preferences, or am I doing it for an editor's requirements? What have you got going on with your poetry?
I don't know yet.
Ah, cool. Are you affiliated with a poetry writing group, or a writing group of some kind?
No.
Stop.
No, I didn't know those existed.
Yes, there are writing groups, and I'll bet if you Google writing groups do you live here in New Iberia?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Oh, you got them coming out of your ears in New Orleans. Check with your local library, because writers support each other. Writers encourage each other in those writing groups. Every so often you get a jerk, but mostly they're wonderful people. And that's where you'll learn to be better at your craft, getting feedback from others in the same craft. Great question. Others?
Are the books that you've written, do you self-publish? Are they traditional published?
They are self-published to a degree. I'm also in anthologies all over the place. Back when I wrote, I've been published since I was 10 years old. I used to do book reviews for the children's page of the newspaper in New Orleans. I have to write. I can't not write. I've written for Sunday school papers and church magazines and professional magazines and all over the place. But when my mother kept saying, when am I going to see your name on the binding of a book? I just kept putting it off. And finally, after she passed away, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write a book for my mom. And I was all lined up with a publisher in Arkansas. And I said, and I'd really like it to come out for my mom's birthday month. And he said, impossible. That's not going to happen. Why not? Doesn't have to be this year. Maybe it'll be next year, but I'd really like it to be for her birthday month. Nope, not going to happen. So we did not go. It turned out to be a blessing, because that publisher folded a year later. My book would have been out there in limbo somewhere. Somebody in my writing group helped me get it self-published. And I have not looked back. It has been such a great experience, because that way I got to have it published when I wanted it to honor her birthday. I mean, I know that's a silly thing, right? But that was, to me, it was an important thing. And so that's why I did it that way. I've been in Chicken Soup for the Soul anthologies. I just got word that I've been accepted into a 6th one. I've been in anthologies with people who had worked for Chicken Soup for the Soul, and went out and started their own series because they said there are a lot of good stories that don't quite fit the chicken soup mold. So they started a series of their own mold called Not Your Mother's Book On. And I was in a couple of those. I write for a couple of different magazines. So, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. And some of them are self-published. Other questions?
Where do you find your most creative? Like place or, where do you find that you are most creative?
3 o'clock in the morning, when I wake up with this idea. Remember I said record your ideas? Keep a tablet by your bed or a tape recorder or something, because 3 o'clock in the morning I wake up and it's like, ooh, I like that, and write it down. Now make sure that you write down enough that when you wake up again the next morning you can look at it and go, yeah, that is a good idea, I like that, not what in the world was I talking about. But, put enough in there. But, yeah, your brain starts percolating all the stuff that you've accumulated during the day. And that's when it all goes together. Yes, ma'am.
So you write poetry?
Where's our microphone? There it is. Sorry.
Okay, so you write poetry.
Yes, ma'am.
You write magazine articles
Yes, ma'am.
on anything?
Well, sometimes it depends on the magazine. I mean, I write for a magazine that focuses on seniors. I write for a magazine that focuses on travel. I write, if they say, Mary Beth, we need an article on, as we were talking earlier, if they'll, the gentleman earlier were talking about sometimes the article gets pitched to them, sometimes they pitch the article. That's about the way it goes. I've written business magazines.
So short stories?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
I've got a couple of my own short story collections out there.
okay.
My novel is set in a fictional town in South Mississippi. And some of the people in that town weren't satisfied with being second fiddle in other people's stories. So they came up with their own stories.
Oh.
And so I wound up with short stories about all these other people. And so that's the Cypress Point Chronicles.
Oh.
My main novels are the LOL to the Fourth Power Mysteries, which is little old ladies laughing out loud, living our lives with lots of love. So LOL to the Fourth Power. And there's actually a free short story outside that you can catch on your way with the books.
So would you say you have characters living in your head?
Definitely. Definitely. I have a coffee cup someone gave me that says main characters. You try to raise them right, and then they get an idea and go their own way and do their own. It's not exactly that clean a language, but it's pretty much, and they do their own thing. And that's true. You think you know where they're going, and yeah, I'm a plotter to a strong degree. I do some plotting, and then I get there, and it's like, I'm not doing it that way. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm doing it my way. Just, deal with it. So that's the way that goes.
That was a good movie about Charles Dickens and how he wrote A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, and you
That
either
was the
write them
same.
down or you find a psychiatrist, one or the other.
Or both.
There you go, or both. There you go, imaginary. I still have my imaginary friends. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. And what wonderful things do we have coming next, Ellen?